The future of learning, learning for the future. This is the question of my life. And now I want to convince all of you that this should be the question you should go after too. But first of all, let me do a little check in here. Who enjoyed actually school? Who didn't? Okay, this looks quite balanced here. Okay, let me disclose, I didn't. And this is why I became a school founder. So after working for a television company and the Boston Consulting Group as a consultant, I founded a chain of bilingual schools across Germany together with a group of totally crazy entrepreneurs. The main goal was to create a school where children's natural creativity, curiosity, and most of all, optimism could be fostered. We called it Forms. This is the mix between form and metamorphosis, between the reliable structures, the good education each parent wants to see for his child, but also the new methods, the new approaches in education, all that lets you be curious and optimistic and entrepreneurial. And I think we managed quite well in total, but there were still a couple of boundaries. Let me give you an example. So you guys from here, Technical University, and so might know quickly the answer for that, but if a kid answered it like this, well, you get 0 points. And this is the problem. We have a school system that does not reward creativity, to say nothing about humor. Okay, and then I had a feeling that I needed to get a little bit smarter on that I needed to reach out and find something else. And then I went on an education expedition. I've been away for 4 months and I visited different things on 4 continents. I've been in 127 places. Most of all were schools and kindergartens, but I found also a lot of other things to look into. And also to ask this question about the future of learning and the learning of the future. So, take this one for instance. This is in Bali, in a beautiful place, the Green School. And this is, I would say, super rural. This is a modern, fully equipped school with wireless LAN and smart boards and internet everywhere, but in the middle of the jungle. Their main learning goal was about sustainability and ecology, and this was for them the good. So this was the school, what the school was about, and as I was there, I would call it Waldorf 2.0, and if you ask me, they weren't dancing their names here, but they had separate loos for pee and poo. So, a modern approach, but however, the place is really stunning. Being in there is really totally amazing. Each classroom is like this, a little cottage, everything open, everything is surrounded by nature. Kids are learning and also in the same time nurturing gardens, raising animals. You would have sometimes a pig going through a classroom or a bird crossing by. And this is really amazing. Imagine that in Asia, where well-being is defined by the existence of an air conditioning. It is revolutionary and it is also very, very beautiful. And all the people working and learning there made everything on learning about the beauty and what the nature gives. So this kind of school illustrates one of the findings that I had to this question, the future of learning, the learning of the future, and how are we going to learn tomorrow? The places of learning are totally going to change. We are going not only to think, but to literally go out of these boxes that we call rooms now, and we are going to design real learnscapes. And while here, still we have this discussion going on, what is the future of learning? Is it brick or click? So going into an institution, in a school, in a university, or doing it online? The world has moved totally out of this definition and makes learning be about anytime and anywhere. Okay, if you're now a teacher or an architect or somebody who is in education, you would ask, how do we do that? Well, we from Berlin, we would say, tear down walls. So that's what they did in this school. That's another school I visited in Australia. And it's called the Sydney Centre for Innovation in Learning. And what you see here is definitely not a break situation. They're not having their pause in there. They are in the middle of learning. And I deliberately say learning and not lessons because these schools had stepped out from the notion of teaching. They have turned everything towards learning. And this is the main point. They have a big hall. It's quite a double as we have here inside, each for each year group. So we have something like 180 to 200 kids in a big thing like this. They call it the space. And there they use all the IT equipment. So, you know, they are in the middle of their project there. They have their ITs and their computers and their smartphones and whatever they have. And this is also very revolutionary because they can bring in whatever, and their teachers, their learning coaches, have no fear whatsoever that they would go on Facebook or they would go for video games. Because the learning and their learning goals are so interesting that they would go after that too. And while here we have always the discussion about standards. You know, if you ask teachers, how can we learn with computers? They would go, we need a standard for everybody. It has to be checked and it has to be, well, standard. And those guys have changed that in the words of their director of the school. It said, instead of being confiscated at the classroom door, technology needs to be available. And it works, because the whole principle of learning is based on collaboration. So you would have one kid with a super duper Mac Pro and whatever, and another kid who has just a simple phone. And if they want to learn something, they would do because they would collaborate, and the one would do a super duper presentation, and the other one would call in the middle of the school time his father and go like, hey dad, I have this question I need to solve, can you help me? And this is something I've seen there, and that's why they don't go on Facebook and they don't play video games, but they try to solve the problems they have in there. This is reaching out, actually. And that's the insight I had. You need a curriculum, you need learning plans, and you need all that. But this is only a grid. The most important thing, the whole processes of learning needs to be centered on community, on what is important to the souls and to the hearts of the learners. And once you do that, you can achieve a lot. And this makes school time not being about marks, but also being about something else, because this innovative school in Australia has introduced also something else beneath marks. This is, they have replaced a part of what they call grades into what they call real audience. So the kids produce blogs and podcasts about their learning processes, and then overnight they see how many views are in there. And this counts directly into their performance appraisals. So this counts into. And here you can see the whole gang recording podcasts in the schoolyard. And even more, you see that little guy on there? When I came in this, I spent quite a few days in this school. And when I came first in there, he approached me very quickly and he looked at me and he said, you are from Europe, right? And I said, yes, but how do you know? And then he said, well, they sent a mail this morning telling us you were coming, and then I Googled you. I found you on Twitter, and I may follow you now if you can help me. what was his problem? His problem was that he was stuck in geography with this question, what are these little things like Liechtenstein and Monaco in Europe? And I went like, okay, let's Google it together. And I could help him, and this was a real great insight because afterwards he was totally happy and he ran towards his teachers and coaches and said, this lady has helped me, this lady has helped me. And then I found out that their appraisals are not only about this real audience, they are also about getting extra points for getting help when needed. So when you get an expert on the phone or in there, or you can Skype with somebody from the MIT or whatever else in the world, you get extra points. And this is something I found extremely interesting. Why shouldn't it be in school or in university while we do it in the working world like this? Another insight was that the people who make you learn need to change. They need to change in order to make your learning tasty and fun and playful, and therefore I say teachers have to move to be playducators. And here's another one. I took courses at the Stiletto Spy School in New York. So this is actually a soft skill training for women. There is also one for men, they call it the MI6. And you go in there, and everything is done in a maximum playful way. So you get in there, and you are a special agent in training. My agent name was Franca Fioravante, and I was specially trained for the day. And the school found a Bea, mother of a 23-year-old, everything that makes up my reality was my cover identity. And I took the trainings, and each time I took a training, there was a reflection time. What does this mean for your cover identity? So I learned a lot. I learned, for example, that firearm shooting is about focus and reaching goals. That burlesque dance is about convincing or even seducing. And also that combat, one-to-one combat, is about the decision we make every day in fight situations. Are we going to stay there and attack or to run away? And this was such a bombardment of my brain with things I will never forget about that. But what inspired me most for what I do now is an amazing project also in Australia. What you see here is a big industry container, just like those things we have here in the port. And this is full with clean industry crap. So things from the industry that are not dangerous for kids, but they are clean and chosen by experts, and they go into that container. And there is a foundation who brings these containers into schoolyards in socially challenged areas. And they train the teachers, and they let the kids play with that. And this is called the free discovery play. The kids have a certain amount of time per day to just play as they want, to foster their creativity, their imagination. And you know what? They have now in something like 20 places now the things, 2 years now. The University of Melbourne is tracking their results. And the kids who do that every day perform up to 30 to 40% better in math and English. So those projects were really reaching for that genuine feeling of flow that only play can revoke. And I took this feeling and got back home, and I decided to start something new. I had a question in mind whether I would go and found again schools and kindergartens, and then I decided not to. Because looking back at my school time, I had 2 pain points. One pain point was that a school will only reach something around 10 kilometers around where it is based. That's it. So you can't reach everybody. And then again, a school is about the teachers and the people who work inside, but you don't really reach the parents and what happens in the families. So I decided to go for the startup situation, to start something new, and I had the idea of a box. And this box is here. And this is a monthly box that is delivered directly to the homes of the families. And it brings ideas and materials for this kind of free discovery play. It nurtures the curiosity and the creativity of the kids. And it may contain something like everything you need in order to set up your own big, huge soap bubbles. It can be something about doing creative printings or to build huge towers out of peas and toothpicks. By the way, this is a great team building exercise. You get toothpicks, you get peas, and then you split up in teams, and then you look who's going to build in a certain amount of time the highest tower on which a raw egg will stay. Very cool thing. Okay, this is based on a play curriculum we have developed with game designers and educators. And in addition to that, there are the tolas. There was the name Tola box come from. And you see there is even a now in there. There are 4 little characters coming from a place somewhere else, from another star. And for kids, this is not just a box. This is a space shuttle coming from this star, far away. And now, talking about stars and so on, I want to do a little test with you. And it's anyhow good to stand up a little bit and, well, little test. No, stay seated so far. Take your hand, your right hand, please, and try to reach out as far as you can. Is this all? Is this all? Is it as far as you can, as high up as you can? 1. Who can I see? Who I see? Further. Who can go further? Who can go further? Who's higher up? Thank you for this exercise. We'll see afterwards on the video who has reached as far as he could. You were the first professor. Thanks a lot. You win the box probably, or well, you'll get the box. And so, coming back to the question about the learning of the future and the future of learning, I have told you that places, processes, and people need to change, and they are going to change. But the answer to the question is actually the question in itself. The learning of the future and the future of learning is about the curiosity and the creativity you can develop. So it is as simple as that. Get on your feet, stretch yourself, and reach as high as you can. Reach for the stars. Thank you.